Hello everyone, it's Turtle tier ranking time. Welcome to the channel. Today we're going to be doing a tier ranking for all the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movies. I've done reviews for every single one of them, all the ones that are on the list here. Now there's one from 2018, The Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I'll be honest, I've not seen the show yet, nor have I seen the movie. I haven't watched the movie because I haven't seen the show. I am planning on watching the show, so that's the only reason why that's not included in that. Other than that, all the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie, including the one with Batman included, all in this tier ranking. And before I start with mine, let me know yours in the comment section down below. Where would you rank the latest ones? Where would you rank the 90s movies? Let me know in the comment section down below. And if you are new to the channel, definitely considering hitting that subscribe button. We do these tier rankings. I've done Mission Impossible, the Marvel, the DC, with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles now added to the list. So if you do like tier ranking videos, definitely consider hitting that subscribe button. And also I do weekly entertainment news videos along with other reviews. So if you like that kind of content, hit that subscribe button. Also hit the like button so that I can see that you are liking these types of videos. But without further ado, let me show you the screen here. So as you can see, we've got all 9 movies. So let's start off going chronologically here. So for me, we're going to start off with the original one, the 1991 movie. For me, one that's really untouchable, such a classic movie, an incredible fight choreographed, dark, gritty, the New York settings, the way the turtles are portrayed. And I even found out, thanks to a fellow YouTuber, Movie AV Impulse, shout out to him, great guy with great content too on his channel, he actually pointed out that the people under the costumes in the turtles couldn't see anything, so they actually memorized everything, all the choreograph by memories, and that's like a running theme throughout the trilogy of the movies. So knowing that, I appreciate the movie even more. I was mentioning in my review, the fight choreograph wasn't as strong as like the other two, but overall the movie itself just came across so great. It was really entertaining, a great way to introduce the characters. I love Master Splinter in this. I love the way they got the turtles introduced, and then the character elements and the character dynamics together just worked really well. And then Shredder, of course, a great villain in this movie. So everything just came across so well, and of course Casey Jones was a great addition in this with April O'Neil. So for me, this one definitely stands the test of time. So when it comes to the original first Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movies, this one straight away is going as an A. Hands down a brilliant, entertaining movie. Now actually I forgot to mention this in the intro, but timestamps for all the movies will be in the description down below. So if there's any movie in particular you want to focus on or look ahead to, timestamps will be in the description down below. But now we're going to move on to the sequel to this movie, The Secret of the Ooze. Now for this one, I was mentioning it again in my review, it was a complete tonal shift when it comes to the first movie and this movie, a complete light-hearted, more comedy elements rather than the dark, gritty nature that they had in the first one. But I love the opening with this, with everybody eating pizza. I love the fight sequences in this movie too. It just came across really, really well. So it was so entertaining. It's not as great as the first movie because of the tonal shift, but that third act with the turtles dancing to the Go Ninja theme song, which honestly I've been hearing that song so much while doing these reviews, it's ingrained in my brain. That third act and that whole dance sequence was pretty great and entertaining. Some of the storyline in terms of like the third act and the Shredder was very underwhelming and very anticlimactic. Like I wish we could have done more with the Shredder. But overall, it was a really great way to follow up with the original movie. However, a lot of like behind the scenes drama, Casey not being brought back because of parents thinking he's too violent and not a great role model, April being recast because she had some issues with the stunt actors and then the director and stuff like that. So then she got replaced. So there was a lot of like behind the scene drama when it comes to that. But still overall a really great movie. We got a little bit of behind the scenes and a backstory to the Turtles' origin, granted with the movie title being Secret of the Ooze. So it was still a very fun and entertaining movie and quite an enjoyable sequel. I will say it's not as, like I said, not as great as the first movie, but it's still a really great classic movie and one you can easily go back and rewatch many, many times. So definitely when it comes to Secret of the Ooze, this one for me is going to go as like a B. So again, entertaining, not as strong as the first one. Now for the next one we've got here is the final entry into this trilogy in terms of live action movie. So we've got the Turtles in Time movie. Now I mentioned this in my review, it's one of the weakest ones out of the 3, so it's my least favorite in terms of the 3 original movies. It's still entertaining, however just like the lighting and the set production along with like the turtles and how they look really more like Halloween costumes rather than actual turtles themselves. But I do like what they presented when it comes to the turtles traveling to Japan, 16th century Japan that was, and being able to save April, while the villain itself Walker, I think his name wasn't as strong and honestly was a really forgettable villain. I love what they were doing with the Turtles and that dynamic of Mikey wanting to stay, Ralph and that connection with him and Yoshi. I liked what they were doing with that. But there were still some weaker elements to it. Again, with like Casey coming back now, but he was just completely toned down, basically being a babysitter for the people that switched bodies with the Turtles. So again, a lot could have been done with this movie, but because they went with the direction of going back in time and it just really not having that strong villain, strong element in terms of the plot, it is the weakest out of the three of them, but it's still an enjoyable movie. One I probably won't go back rewatching as much as I would with the first two, but it's still a fun, entertaining movie that you'll have a good time with. I just wish that they did more when it comes to Splinter and Casey and had a stronger villain, especially because you have the daimyo in the 16th century. You could have done more with it. But like I said, I had an enjoyable time. So when it comes to Turtles in Time, this one for me is going to go as a C, essentially the ranking for the original movie. So you've got the first one as the top one, the sequel as the second one, and then the third one is going to be the third bottom one. But again, really enjoyable movies, a really great adaptation of the live action Turtles. But then we move on to the next movie. It's the first animation turtle movie from the TMNT 2007 movie. Like I said, this was one of the first movies I grew up watching as like a teenager, with my brain being more developed. And I really had a fun time with this movie. It was so fun and entertaining. Granted, the plot and the villain, again, not as strong. They're introducing like a brand new villain, not something from like the comics or anything from previous work, like any known villain that we would have known, like Shredder, Krang, or the Triceratons, or Baxter Stockman, Mousers, or anything like that. It's a completely brand new villain. And when you come to find out that the villain is actually a good guy who just wants to die in the end, it does have a lot of plot holes. But I really enjoyed this movie for when it did come out, especially in 2007. The animation style, it may not be as good as like Mutant Mayhem, but it was still a great animation. And that, again, that scene between Ralph and Leo was one of the best scenes in TMNT, in like most of the movies itself, I would have to say. So while it does have some plot lines, I do like that more mature, experienced, rundown Turtles nature that they did go for, and they really did focus on that Leo and Ralph storyline, which I really enjoyed. And you have that third act with, you've got the Turtle brothers working together versus like these warriors. A great third act. You had the foot in the beginning at the entrance with that whole fight sequence. So it is still a really enjoyable movie for me personally. But if we're having to rank it here, I would have to say the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2007 movie. This one for me, I would have to say a C. It's better than Turtles in Time, but because of the villain not being as strong and that whole twist and the main focus, my main memory is of the Ralph versus Leo scene, I'll put it as like a C+. Definitely out of the four movies, it's the third best movie for me in my personal opinion here. And the next one we've got on the list here is the Turtles Forever. This is sort of like a multiverse movie when it comes to 87 Turtles and the 2003 Turtles blended into one. I really had a fun time with this movie. It was so great seeing the 25th anniversary of all the Turtles, Mirage Turtles, the 87 Turtles, the 2003 Turtles. It was just a great nostalgic element. I really had a great time watching this. I've rewatched this so many times growing up. I haven't watched it in a while, but rewatching it while doing the reviews, it was a fun, entertaining story. The animation styles in terms of crossing between different dimensions was done right. And again, multiverse movie with the Shredder. Like, I really love the Shredder's plotline with this. Having him be the one that wants to take out all the multiverses, and by doing that, he's going to go to the main one, the Prime Earth, where by defeating the Turtles and removing the Turtles, it sets up a sequence of chain reactions to lead into the elimination of all the Turtles. So I really do like that element there. Granted, there was a couple of flaws when it comes to the movie itself and the way the 87 Turtles were portrayed, because when I made the review, I know people were saying how the 87 Turtles were sort of too goofy, too much humor, especially with Shredder and Krang from the 87 version also being slightly weak. So I can understand that completely, but I still really had an enjoyable time with this. So when it comes to the 2009 reunion, the 25th anniversary special, this one for me is going to go as like a B. Definitely a really strong, solid entry into the franchise. A great, nostalgic, going through memory lane type of movie. And I love the 2003 series Turtles show. It really hits different tone and a different storyline with every single character. I highly recommend the 2003 Turtles along with the 87 Turtles. as ones to watch too. So definitely a great show and a great way to wrap up everything with the Turtles in this one here. And then next up on the list here is we've got the Michael Bay movies. Now, like I said when I did this review, the first one was a really brutal watch because you sort of had like an April O'Neil movie with the Turtles being included in the first half of the movie. I hate the origin story for the Turtles with this, with April being connected to it, having Sax be related to killing her father, and then this whole plotline with her rescuing the Turtles, her naming the Turtles too. I just really didn't like what they did with that, and then especially the action sequence, it just felt so Michael Bay with like the truck snow driving sequence, and then third act with everything just crashing. Like it just felt like a Transformers movie with just so much like unnecessary action in it. And with the Turtles too, like the Turtles were great in this movie, but their style and the way they look, especially it taking like 25 minutes for them to finally reveal themselves, I just really wasn't a fan of the direction that they went with this movie. And so for me, when it comes to the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the 2014 movie with Michael Bay, this one is going to go as an F for me. I feel like it's the worst one out of the whole franchise. Really disappointing with like the nature of it. April being the main focal point, the Turtles sort of background characters, the origin story, the over-the-top action sequences just all felt like a letdown. So yeah, it's going as an F for me. And then next up on the list is we've got the sequel to this movie. It's the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Out of the Shadows. Now for this one, it was a much more improved version of the first movie with the 2014 version. It still had a lot of flaws, but what I really liked is that they focus a lot more when it comes to the turtle side of things and showing more of their side, their personalities. You had that storyline going with them wanting to become humans, having that ooze that can transform them into humans, and having that overarching plot with the turtles having tensions with one another, with Leo versus Ralph, and that dynamic too. I loved what they did with that. Granted, I wasn't a fan of at first them possibly turning into humans, but I liked what they did with it, and I liked how they brought it up, especially that police station sequence with Mikey's face. I just really liked what they did with that, a great element. However, when it comes to like the villains of the movie, again, not as strong in terms of the villain side of things. Shredder was just sort of like a background character with his outfit too, versus the first movie when it's sort of like a robotic suit, and this one just feels like a leather jacket with a really sad looking helmet, and then him just getting frozen by Krang. I really feel like he was so underutilized, and even Krang itself, if you really think about it, wasn't part of the movie too much, gets introduced out of nowhere and then isn't into the movie until the third act, so it was just sort of a letdown with the villains. But Rocksteady and Bebop, like them two together, just really made this movie much more entertaining. So when it comes to TMNT Out of the Shadows, I definitely think this one is an improvement to the 2014 version, but I will have to say this one is going to go as like a D. The second weakest in the franchise, just again, over-the-top action sequence, the Michael Bayisms, but great entertainment with the Turtles. So yeah, it's going as a D for me. And then next up on the list here is we've got the Batman versus the Turtles movie, a movie I genuinely did not think we would ever see or it would ever come to fruition. But I had such a blast with this. I love the Batman animated series. I love the Turtles. So just them blending together just worked so well. The fight sequences when you've got Batman versus a Shredder, it was so incredible to watch. The voice casting and the animation style looked really great. I loved Mikey's enthusiasm in terms of the whole movie, and the comedy just blended and worked really well. The introduction to the Arkham Asylum and all the Rogue Gallery villains from Batman's side of things, and how that whole sequence took place, was just so well done. And that whole team up with Ra's al Ghul and Shredder versus the Turtles, it looked really well. Again, storyline, animation, voice casting, comedy, all blended and worked really, really great. So when it comes to Batman versus the Turtles, I'm gonna put this one as like an A. It really was a solid entry and a really fun and entertaining movie that you can rewatch over and over again. Batman and the Turtles teaming up together, and even their fight scenes together, Batman taking on the Turtles, it was just done so incredibly well. So highly entertaining, and going as an A for me. And now for the final movie we've got on the list here, and the movie that just came out, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem movie. I just did the review of it, and what a movie this was. So energetic, so charismatic, so charming and funny. I really loved this movie. I really enjoyed this movie. As I said in the spoiler review, this movie did have some flaws, especially when it comes to like the mutants themselves who are siding with Superfly, and also the ending of the movie to the direction that they're going with the Turtles. While I wasn't a huge fan, I'm curious to see where they're going to go with it, with the series and the sequel to this movie. But praising this movie, you've got like the voice casting an incredible voice casting with Jackie Chan and Ice Cube definitely being the two standouts. The turtles themselves, you had really great elements and fun animation style when it comes to how it's presented on screen. I forgot to mention it in my review, but that third act with the turtles taking on Superfly, it was so great and entertaining. And again, that animation style with everything blending together worked really well. So it was so enjoyable. I honestly wasn't expecting it to love it as much as I did, but what they did with this movie, what Seth Rogen did with the movie and with the turtles, it just worked. It really worked. Now, of course, these turtles are going to be the ones that stand out for the current generation of like teenagers and kids, because of how it is with social media now and how it is with the world now, with technology being your beck and call. Obviously, I didn't grow up with that kind of world, so this kind of version is a lot different, but I honestly take nothing away from it. I thought I wasn't going to like it with the turtles having cell phones and that kind of stuff, but this movie worked with it. Granted, I didn't understand some of the pop culture references and stuff like that because I just feel so old now, but it didn't take away my enjoyment of this movie. I really was not expecting to enjoy it as much as I did. So much great enjoyment with this movie. So when it comes to the Mutant Mayhem movie, this one for me is going to go as an A. I would have to say, if we're taking away the TMNT and Batman movie, this is the second best TMNT movie that they have done. A really great enjoyment, a really great entertaining movie, so much fun and energy it brings to the table, and you'll really have an enjoyable time with it, especially if you're growing up as a Turtle fan. You'll have a great time with this movie. So yeah, it's definitely going as like an A for me. So this basically wraps up their list, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movie list, how I rank them. So of course, the first movie, the original live action movie, is untouchable for me. It's so much fun and so much enjoyment with it, and what they presented with the not only the environment and the scenery, but how they presented the turtles and the fight choreograph, and the third act too with the Shredder and the turtles and the blending of Splinter in it too. It's just flawless for me when it comes to that. But yeah, this is my list for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movies. Again, let me know your list in the comment section down below, or if you want to just let me know your best movie and your worst movie, you can also let me know in the comment section down below, and what you think of my list too, whether you completely disagree with it, whether you agree with it. Let me know in the comment section down below. But that about wraps it up for the whole TMNT review series here. We've done reviews for all the movies. I thank everybody that has watched all the reviews and watching this tier ranking too. I really appreciate all the support there. I had such a great time revisiting all the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Just felt like a kid again. This show growing up, I rewatched it so many I rewatched the movies, I rewatched the shows so many times. This one with Digimon and Power Rangers are like the ones I can rewatch over and over again, even as an adult. So it was so much fun just revisiting this. I had such a great time reviewing all the movies. But thank you so much for watching, and thank you so much for listening. Also, I have got Twitter, link is in the description down below, so you know whenever I do post. But this is Mike here Reviews. Peace.